It's officially December, and that means here in Minnesota, we're getting dangerously close to, well, you know what. I mean, this is like Sunday Scaries times 10. But if you want to find out what you need to do to prepare, then stay tuned. What's going on, guys? BrandonArchie here, aka your favorite Minnesota realtor. And before we get started with today's video, I did want to give a special shout out to everybody that's watching this video, everybody who supported the channel over the last year. We finally hit 1,000 subscribers. We actually hit 1,000 subscribers a few weeks ago, but seeing how I haven't posted a video in the last month, my bad. I wanted to take some time in today's video to, again, thank you guys for all the support, and I will keep on dropping this heat that you guys are used to watching. All right, so Minnesotans are coming to terms with the fact that we're now in December, and that means that any day now the weather's going to throw us for a loop. You see, Minnesota's probably most known for its crazy winters, but they really aren't as bad as you think they are, as long as you prepare for them. But how do you do that, you ask? Well, that's exactly what I'm going to be going over in today's video. But first, if you guys are thinking about moving to Minnesota, whether it be now, next month, or even next year, shoot me an email at BrandonArchie@kw.com so we can set up a quick meeting and go over what it is you're looking for to make your move as smooth as possible. Now, let's get started. Okay, so first thing you need to know is that we have two kinds of winter here in Minnesota, and if you've watched my Survive Minnesota video that I posted actually exactly a year ago, then you already know what those two are. So the first version is the one that I prefer the most, and that's when the temperature is around 30 degrees or so, and we get dumped on with snow. And I'm talking like the thick, heavy snow that you can make snowmen with. Now, I would say this past winter was probably like this the majority of the time, and we got the most snow that I can honestly remember that we've gotten in a very long time. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, now, why in the world would I want that? And that reason being is purely because of the temperature. Now, I'm not sure where you guys are from and what kind of weather you're used to, but I can tell you right now, winter here in Minnesota, 30 degrees is warm. And I mean, like, take your dog out in a t-shirt warm. You might even see a couple people wearing shorts. And I'm not exaggerating. Now, in comparison, the second version of winter that I'm going to talk about in a minute, 30 degrees actually feels like spring. So rightfully so, if I have a choice between the two, I'm definitely picking this one all day. Now, the other version of winter, on the other hand, is the one that you need to worry about, and that one could kill you. That one could kill you. That one could kill you.
What?
Now, this version is where there's no snow on the ground, or at least very minimal, and the temps are in the negatives. But it actually isn't the temperature that will get you, it's the wind chill. What the fuck, man? Now, when that wind starts whipping around, that's definitely when you need to be worried, and that's when -10 feels like -25. Now, once you've lived here for some time, your body does get acclimated to the colder weather to the point to where it doesn't affect you that much. But this version of winter, you can't acclimate to that. Luckily for you, as long as you properly prepare and have the right gear, there's nothing to worry about. So let's dive into what you need to do to prepare. But first, let's have a quick pop quiz. Leave a comment below on what you think the coldest temperature ever recorded in Minnesota was. I can tell you right now, it's pretty crazy. Okay, so let's start off with clothing. Now, Minnesota is a very moody state, and you really don't know what weather you're gonna get until you go outside and see. You kind of just have to be ready for anything. Now, the key to getting through the winter here is dressing in layers. Now, I don't even own a big winter coat because I typically have on multiple layers of clothing anyway. That way, if I get too hot, I can just take a layer off versus only taking my coat off. Now, what do I mean by layers? Well, I'll give you an example. Right now, I have my tank top on, which is my base layer, and then I have my thermal over it. Now, if I were to leave the house, I'd probably throw on a vest, and if it was super cold outside, I'd probably throw on a winter jacket on top of that. That way, if I'm going to a bar or something like that, once I get there, I can take my coat off and still be a little toasty. And if I get too hot after the beers start kicking in, then I can take my vest off, and so on and so on. And on top of that, dressing in layers is pretty much going to make the wind a non-factor regardless of how cold it is. If you have all those layers on, it really doesn't matter if you have on the most expensive coat, because even if a little wind did make it through, it still won't get through the other 4 layers of clothing you have on. Now, if you're going to spend a lot of money, I would find a great pair of warm gloves and a nice hat to buy, because on those super cold days, your hands and ears are definitely going to be the first ones to go. Now, personally, this is where I typically struggle every year because I can't use my phone when I have my gloves on, and it's very hard to type in key codes to show houses, so I typically don't wear them. And then I instantly regret it later. Every time. Frostbite is a real thing, people, and it isn't when your hands are cold that you should be worried about. It's when they start to warm back up where it really hurts. So don't be like me, get some gloves. Alright, so I think you guys hopefully get the picture now on clothing and how to dress. So next up, let's talk about your vehicle, which is another important aspect of making it through Minnesota winter. Now, as far as the kind of vehicle you'll need, you'll hear most people say something like you'll need something with all-wheel drive, which is definitely going to be a plus, but realistically, you can get away with driving a front-wheel drive vehicle as well. You won't, however, want to drive a rear-wheel drive vehicle, so make sure to put that bad boy away until next spring. You'll see a lot of Minnesotans owning two different cars, their toy for the warmer months and then their winter vehicle. Now, one thing that you may have heard before is getting winter tires to put on your car, which is something that a lot of people do, but I would say that although everything helps, it isn't a necessity. Now, once you drive through your first couple Minnesota winters, you'll find that it really isn't that hard to do, and 99% of the people that are crashed in ditches somewhere on the side of the road in the winter, it's simply because they were driving too fast. I've been driving a Nissan Altima with front-wheel drive with no winter tires for the last 8 years, and I've never crashed. Knock on wood. I did have one close call though in a roundabout last year. Hit the like button if you're scared of driving in the Minnesota winter. Okay, so things that you'll want to have in your car include jumper cables or some kind of portable battery jumper is ideal. So when it's cold outside, sometimes your car may have trouble starting. You don't want to be stuck in a parking lot somewhere and your car won't start. I would keep some kind of blanket in your car as well in case you do end up getting stuck. That way you can stay warm. I personally keep tools in my car just in case something happens that may need a small fix. I mean, I'm not sure if that's even winter related, but I keep them in my car anyway. I also have AAA just in case my car breaks down for any reason. I can just give them a call and they can come pick me up. You really don't want to be sitting in your car when it's super cold outside, so you have to be prepared for all kinds of situations. And a bonus tip that I would suggest is you have some kind of remote start system. Starting your car ahead of time and letting it warm up is going to save you a lot of time and pain. You're going to want to let it run for a little bit before you just hop in and go, which leads me to my next tip. Leaving the house early. Now, leaving early in the winter, especially when you get a lot of snow, traffic slows way down. And I mean way down. You'll definitely want to leave the house plenty early if you have somewhere to be, and I would say that a general rule of thumb is to leave the house at least 20 to 30 minutes earlier than you would have normally left the house. That is, if you actually want to be on time, of course. Now, as far as road conditions go, you don't have to worry about the main roads here because our plow system is out there plowing snow pretty much immediately during snow days. They also salt the roads too, which helps get rid of any ice that may be out there. Which reminds me, if you're moving here from a store that may not be as cold as Minnesota is, and they don't use salt on the roads, I would keep in mind that when it comes to maintaining your vehicle, salt on your vehicle can damage it over time because it makes the metal rust. You really won't see it on the outside of the car, but driving on a Minnesota road, which is heavily salted, will degrade the undercarriage of your car. You'll notice on warmer days in the winter here that almost every car wash line is going to be around the corner with everyone trying to get the salt off their car. And you really want to avoid having anything under the car go bad anyway, because that's instantly going to cost you at least $1,000 automatically. Okay, so in my opinion, one of the most important things that you need to do to get prepared for the first Minnesota winter is be prepared to embrace the snow. Now, I know it may seem scary hearing about our winters, but they really aren't as bad as people think they are, depending on what state you're coming from, of course. Minnesota fully embraces our winters here, and there are actually a lot of fun things that you can do during them. Snowmobiling, ice fishing, ice skating at the park, snowboarding, etc. And we have plenty of events as well, like the Bentleyville Tour of Lights up in Duluth. We have the St. Paul Winter Carnival, ice castles, and even restaurants where you can actually eat outside in a heated igloo. Now, there are also way more events that are scattered all throughout the Twin Cities, but I can't name them all here. Just know that there's endless things to do here during the winter other than just focus on the negatives. Now, with the combination of the cold weather and it getting darker earlier, seasonal depression is a real thing here. So make sure you get out and embrace everything that this beautiful state has to offer.